Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Everyone's Critic podcast, where we discuss episodes from TV shows. Today, we're discussing Atlanta season 3, as it just dropped a couple of weeks ago. And so since then, 3 episodes have dropped, so we're going to be unpacking those today. Kojo, how are you?
I'm not bad, Queenie. I'm not bad. I've got some water here and I'm chilling. I'm fasting at the moment. So my energy is quite low. But other than that, I'm feeling quite good. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Just had a riveting weekend in London, back up in Liverpool now. And yeah, my room's a mess. Got to tidy it, but that's life. At least Atlanta's back. After how many years has it been? 4 years
Man.
or something? 3?
Yeah. Robin season, I think, came out, I want to say 2016-ish, 2017. Or am I bugging? Is it?
I
Because I feel
think
like
I
I
think
saw Atlanta back in 20. I think I saw Atlanta back in 2017. I mean,
yeah, I think that was when season 2 came out.
yeah, so it's been a while basically. Yeah, season 1 came out in 2016.
Been a little while.
So yeah. Anyway, it's been overdue. It's been overdue. Which so yeah, taking us into season 3. Atlanta was back. Um
And what an opening.
yeah, episode 1. I'll start. So episode 1 actually called Three Slaps.
Yeah.
I remember messaging you at the time when I saw episode 1 because I had thoughts, but I was confused. What I'd say is I was confused about episode 1. Sets following is Aquarius, who's acting up in school, gets taken away and put into foster care with two white lesbian parents. With I think in the show there's only 3 other black children that he gets housed with. But I'm gonna come back to that.
Yeah.
And basically, in a sense, I didn't realize that the episode itself was based on real events. I don't know if you did. Yeah. See,
The woman was starting to speak. What?
I didn't know the episode was based off a real event. It's based off the Hart family murders, and unfortunately, where the show essentially ends with the foster parents deciding to take their own lives and their children, and then the Aquarius and the other children escaping the TV show, that didn't happen in reality. So, and at first, when I saw the episode, like I messaged you, I was very confused. I was like, why? What is this first episode? What is going on?
Yeah.
And I went on Twitter to kind of see what the discourse was, and I saw people talking about how it's a take on the Hart family murders.
Wow.
And people had obviously like mixed takes on it. I've seen some people say that the show handled it badly because what happened in reality doesn't happen in the show. But then at the same time, what the theme, Atlanta's a show about Afro surrealism. It's an Afro
Yeah.
surrealist show. And for anybody who's unaware, like surrealism can be defined as like balancing a rational vision of life with one that asserts the power of the unconscious and dreams and like maybe even the mystical. And finds magic and strange beauty and unexpected. I'm reading this off Google, by the way. Finds magic and strange beauty and the unexpected and the uncanny, and the disregarded and the unconventional. So, in essence, if I'm going to distill that, it's like taking almost real events and then twisting it in a little bit, adding in your own dreams, adding like kind of putting your own spin on it from a black lens. So it's an Afro surrealist show, and it took an event which happens in realism and reinterpreted it from an Afro surrealist view. So yeah, what do you think of episode 1, Queenie?
So with that context, which I didn't even realize that was the case. So with that context, I like that episode even more now. I didn't not like the episode. I just thought I thought it fit in with the theme of surrealism. It also fit in with the theme of like just every episode not knowing what to expect, because that's the type of show that Atlanta is. So in season 1, we got like pretty much an entire episode just running commentary basically on it was like the Black Arts Network or something like that. And you just had like a series of adverts essentially discussing different things, and it's hard to explain if you haven't seen it. It's season 1 episode 7, but there's like one where they have like coconut O's or something like that, and it's like a cereal, it's a cereal advert basically, but then like in the end the wolf who's trying to steal the cereal from the kids gets like arrested and beat down by the police, and it's hard to explain. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. But so I say all of that to say that that first episode already fit in with what Atlanta does, but with the added context that you just told me, I think the fact that at the end Ern wakes up because it's a dream, I'm like, well, he dreamt a happier ending then. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, and that it fits in with the theme of surrealism, like you've like, and with the explanation you've just told me. And he was obviously, yeah, he was just dreaming up a happier ending. I like that personally. I'm kind of shocked that people didn't like it, to be fair.
It's mixed. Mixed
Yeah.
opinion.
Did you like it?
At first, I was confused. At first, I was just very confused because I didn't have the context, and I think I went in there for a first episode of a new season. So I was particularly bemused. I was like, why would you start off a season this way? Like, who is L'Aquarius? It's like, the whole time I'm like, is L'Aquarius related to Ern? Is L'Aquarius like Ern's? Did he change his name? But then we've seen Ern as a child. So I'm like, I was very confused. I was trying to like piece how it fits into the wider story. And then when Ern wakes up and it's like, it's just a dream, I was even more confused. So
Yeah.
I think, well, with the added context, I like it a lot more, and I see why they positioned it in the first episode, because there's nowhere else you can really position that in the show, in the season. Sorry, I'm gonna rewatch it. It's a really
although
go on.
Sorry, no, you please finish your thought.
No, I was gonna say it's a really good episode on its own. Even the themes it talks about or touches on, like same social services, economic status, the idea like a Twitter question, like should people of other races raise other children, and etc. etc. Even just looking at the again the social welfare system and how like what sort of checks are in place for like children's welfare when they're in foster care and things like that. The police, there's that scene, the scene where L'Aquarius hugs the policeman and he's like, I want to go home type of thing. That's a real scene. Like there's a picture of that, of where you see the I think the child, I think their name is Devonte. I'll have to double check. Wearing the hat, wearing the same outfit, hugging the policeman with tears in his eyes. So with all that context, the episode means so much more, and I think it just crystallized it. I was like, oh, I understand. Like things just clicked suddenly into place. When at first I just was very confused, which is when I messaged you. I was like, let me watch episode 2 before I say anything. Like I didn't even have the context. I was just like, and 2 didn't help anymore. But once I done some reading, I was like, oh, right, I see.
Yeah. I think in terms of like, because you mentioned that you're not sure if it would have worked if it wasn't at the beginning. Again, with the kind of show Atlanta is, I don't know if I agree, but I will say that maybe it's trying to maybe they're trying to unpack a theme there that we're supposed to be looking out for in this episode. Like I feel like the whole show is very beautifully crafted, and obviously they would have definitely thought about like how they were gonna lay out the show and all of that. But if you remember, like at the beginning of the episode, where you have that kind of like horror element, which took me by surprise because I came to the show to laugh. I didn't come here to be scared. Please.
When the white fisherman turned around and you see his
I was like this on the train. But I was like, I didn't come here to be scared, please. I thought we left that with the season 2 episode 6 with the Michael Jackson-esque episode. Please. I thought we left that behind.
I sent you my episode list for season 2, right? Where it's just every episode just tick, 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 watch. And Teddy Perkins like, watch.
Oh, it's so scary. But anyway, I mentioned that because they were kind of talking about how there were people, there were souls in the murky waters, like, and stuff. And it was kind of like, he
Also
said one
true,
line.
which is also true.
Yeah, no, and I didn't even have to Google that to know that it was true. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have to Google that to know that it was true. And there was one line that he said, it was about it's because they were so close to being white, right? And so I'm kind of thinking, like, as Paperboy is getting more successful, and we do see, like, in episode 2 and episode 3, that, like, they're coming into contact with, people here and there, people that can help them. Like, money is like helping their cause a lot. And so I wonder if maybe that's where we're going with this season. Like, we've already spoken about how you have the come up, and then you have the, like, okay, getting used to it, and now it's like, oh, he's kind of made it big time. Like, because these men were talking about, oh yeah, we were here last year, we were in Amsterdam last year. I'm like, you were on tour last year as well?
Since season 2 ending and season 3, because season 2 ends with them going to Amsterdam and they're on tour with some other industry plant kid.
Yeah.
And Al talks about firing Ern when they land in Amsterdam. Clearly that didn't happen, but
Yeah.
not even then Al talks about it, but it's like the energy is that when they land, Ern's gonna get fired, but clearly that didn't happen. And clearly now Ern knows what he's doing. He's a big time manager. He knows, like, he's comfortable in this game.
Yeah. But
So
yeah, so I don't know if I complete my thought, but
right.
I guess maybe what they might be trying to explore this season is just, like, maybe how close one can get to whiteness without, like, before drowning. You know what I mean? Like, before your soul is trapped in murky waters.
That's a really good point, though. That's a really, really good point, of how this, I can see once we get through the whole season, jumping back to episode 1 and seeing how some of those themes kind of play into it, because we are in that space of, I don't want to say the fall off, but we could be heading for the fall off in terms of, like, we're seeing the season starts off with Al up here. So the only way to go is either higher or lower. And it kind of, I'm not sure how we can go much higher, because he's been bailed out of jail in episode 1. He's throwing money out and about, schmoozing and mixing with the billionaires. Like, there's not, where do you go from here in terms of the story? And I don't want to see necessarily the fall off in terms of, like, him ending up back where he began. But yeah, I think I can see them wrestling with the idea of whiteness as a status symbol, whiteness as an economic, as a class thing. So yeah, anyway, interesting stuff. Do you want to jump to episode 2?
Let's do episode 2, because let me tell you something, Kojo. When we often speak on this show, listeners, listen up. We often speak about budgets, right? Production budgets on this show, mostly because I bring it up, right? Because the stuff fascinates me. Okay, I haven't exactly looked into the numbers for the season, but I didn't have to. You know why? You want to know why? Because these people are really in Amsterdam. Then they went to London. They thought, yeah, we'll just go to London as well. My issue sometimes, and we spoke about this in our last podcast episode about Top Boy, and, like, how, like, it probably wasn't necessary for them to go to Spain and Mallorca. As in, me personally, I wasn't a fan of it. And my point was that, like, I understand that productions get more budget and they get more money to do the show, but it doesn't mean that it needs to be squandered. Atlanta, like, speechless. For me, one of the few shows that actually makes sense in terms of production costs, right? Not only because it's a show about a guy who works in music, so obviously he's going to go on tour. Like, so it was very, very lovely to see, basically, like, them being in Amsterdam, but not just being there to be there. It was like they were there and they were still doing the shit that they would do in Atlanta abroad. Like, it was still giving surrealism, still giving Darius. It was, nothing changed except their location. And I really liked that, because in other cases I can't say the same thing. And I think that was just lovely to see for me personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you?
just on your point of nothing changed but the location, I think even the way, like, that's a big thing. That's a big thing to change, because one thing I like about what it's done in terms of changing the location is it embedding itself in the culture and showing you the culture from different lenses. Where maybe, like, so we spoke about this with Top Boy, you got stints of it in terms of it kind of talking about Morocco, and you see like the children and stuff who live on the beach who want to kind of cross over into Spain or cross over into Europe. It didn't really dive into like Moroccan culture. Would have been amazing to see in Top Boy. So now looking at Atlanta, and is again done from an Afro lens, in that is looking at particularly figures like Swart Pete or Black Pete, who is related to like Christmas in Holland. Who's Swart Pete, like blackface, is supposed to be a helper of Santa. The reason has blackface is because he fell down the chimney. And I've always thought this dialogue's always been very interesting for me, because it's easy to see both sides. Like when people are like, oh, it's not blackface. Be like, well, he's in blackface. It's a bit. So there's that kind of tension there. But they do it in such a funny way where you can kind of only just laugh in many respects.
I think that thing, like you are saying that it's kind of like it was a tussle, like mentally, to be like, you get that it's like a cultural thing, like it's not exactly blackface, but then it totally is. But then by the end, like the two ends are like tied together, right? Because essentially what happens in the episode is that Paperboy needs to come out on stage and perform. They've given him an advance of 20k to bail him out of jail, which was a very nice spa jail, but we'll get into that later.
He was like, can you turn down the thermostat? You might turn off the light a little bit? Yeah.
You know what? And the thing is, Ern got there, paid the 20k, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna eat first though.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna that first.
But anyway, so he's just been released like from an overnight jail situation in Amsterdam. And he's been given an advance, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So now he needs to go out on stage and perform, because that's why they're in Amsterdam. But then he kind of looks out into the crowd and they're all in blackface. And so Paperboy decides that he's not going to perform anymore, right? So it's now Ern's job as his manager to be like, oh, listen, it's not going to happen. Like, my boy's really ill, so we're not going to go. And as Ern is leaving or running away from the guy who owns like the what is this?
You say production manager, the producer.
Yeah. Like the guy loses Ern, basically. And so in a fit of rage, then beats up a guy in blackface. And I say that because like it does tie the two together. So in as much as like people might argue that it's not blackface, like you've still just picked the nearest person who looks black and beat them up, even though this guy had nothing to do with this situation. And then Ern just kind of turns around, sees it happening, and goes,
it just leaves.
Which I thought was hilarious. It was hilarious, but it was also like, damn, like this is crazy. And so basically the production man just like took out his frustrations on the closest person who had the like simplest, not even resemblance, it's not like they looked like at all. They both had short hair, and the guy literally had black paint on his face, and he thought, I'm still gonna beat you up because you look a little bit like this guy.
Yeah, that's solid take. Jumping to Darius and Van, which is a pairing I never saw coming. I don't think we'd ever seen the two of them in the show prior, but it was not, as soon as I saw them together on screen, I was like, oh, I like this. Like this a lot. And the idea of like Darius is trying to engage her in small talk because he's like, this is how people interact with each other, and then Vanna's like, this is weird, we can just talk about real shit. It was lovely kind of seeing them just break their ice immediately and just start diving into who they are as people. Darius as a character, kind of missing for me right now. I think I enjoyed him a lot more in episode 3, which we're going to talk about. But as a character, I don't think he's the right figure to have like an arc of sorts. But it would be nice to have something a bit more to who he is as a character, more he is as a person. Like we learned that he's a eunuch, and he grew up in Nigeria, and he said like he lost his balls and everything else. So we learned that about him. But I mean, maybe he's always going to be a misnomer. To be honest, I might be trying to put too much on the character when that's just not who, like, the purpose of them. Where he's supposed to be an enigma. He's an enigma to the people around him, so I guess he should be an enigma to the audience as well. But it's just maybe I'm over the random kind of quips that he throws out of like these supposed to be like mystical gems, and sometimes they hit and sometimes they just don't, and I'm like, it's kind of. I want more from Darius because I think Lakeith Stanfield is a good actor, and I would just like to get a bit more from that role. But yeah.
I can't I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean entirely, to be fair. I think season 3 though, because especially in episode 2, when they end up at Tupac's death.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about this.
I feel like that was so great, right? It could have only been Darius. It could have only been Darius to be like, oh, we have to figure out like who this is. And for Vanessa, like she's clearly in her own space and like trying to reimagine her life and like, you know, trying to figure out what it is that she really wants from life and stuff like that. It could have only been Darius to have taken Vanessa on this journey that she's on now. Like, I feel like her seeing Tupac die in front of her has obviously set her off on another path that I'm excited to see. But I'm glad that it was Darius that was there to like help facilitate that. But yeah, he is a misnomer, as you said, and I feel like there's always an adventure with Darius, and so I'm just here for the adventures. I am over the one-liners, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I did like him.
On Tupac, I didn't take that literally when they were saying it's Tupac, but I think it's Atlanta. You kind of have to take it like as it is.
No, honestly,
Queenie, when I say I was shocked at so trigger warning for anybody who I mean, if you're watching this, you probably see, but this whole thing is just spoilers, to be honest. I'm assuming you've seen the episode. The suicide scene or the assisted suicide scene. When that happened, it was so much more graphic than I expected. Like, really caught me off guard, and it goes on for such an extended amount of time of just seeing like squirm and yell and gasp, like kind of go through the process. I was shocked.
It was crazy. Like, and the thing is, the way they said it, because she was like a death doula kind of situation, right? The way they framed it was as if like, oh, you know, he's about to take his last breath, right? Not that you were gonna kill him. Like, what? Like, yeah, it was, as in obviously he was there for a reason, but not that you were gonna suffocate him. Yeah, it was quite intense. But again, tinkering on like that kind of Afro surrealism, like there are people who still believe that Tupac is alive and like all of this. So it's one of them ones. It was an interesting icon to choose, I guess. But what can we do? What can we do? Afro surrealism.
Also an interesting kind of, again, going back to the cultural relevance of the show, particularly when on international locations, and how like euthanasia is a legal thing in Holland, but say in America and other places, it's much more gray in how things like that are handled. So anyway, interesting stuff. Let's talk about episode 3, The Old Man and the Tree. London, we finally made it. We're in London. I think we're going to be here for a second. If I'm recording the trailers, I feel like they're going to be in London for longer. But I wonder if they're jumping around to different European cities. I'm very excited to see. Like, the show is incredible. Like, in terms of how it's going to go through that.
This is what I'm saying. Like, especially because, like, it seems as though the point of this season is to show like life on tour.
Yeah.
Like, give it to me. Do you know what I mean? I want to see you in Paris next. Do you know what I mean? Like, anyway, episode 3, I'm hearing, you know, they little name drop like Slow Tie, and I'm like, and they're like, oh, so the guy basically they don't bump into this guy. Sorry, let me gather my thoughts. There's a man that they're going to meet at his billionaire mansion or whatever. And so the guy is like, oh yeah, like, you know, the UK music scene is really good. Like, have you heard of Slow Tie? They're like, no. And I forgot the other person that they mentioned. They were like, no. Who?
K-Trap.
Yeah, right. K-Trap. K-Trap, is that?
Yeah,
I've
I
never
thought
heard
they
of
were
him,
gonna
to be
say
fair.
they were playing Central C's music, so I thought they were gonna say like Central
Yeah.
C or someone, but they said K-Trap, which actually very much surprised me. I'm even skeptical, but okay, I was like, okay, it's fine.
You know what I mean? So what I thought was so interesting was like obviously whoever wrote that episode would have been like, yeah, Slow Tie. Like, as in, were they doing that to mock Slow Tie, or were they doing that to be like, people need to know about Slow Tie? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, probably the latter. Probably the latter. I mean, it's just we're just cultural. Like, because slow tie would make sense if you were trying to, in terms of UK rappers who are internationally known. Like slow tie is also big. Like slow tie's done stuff with Rockhampton and Tyler the Creator, and like slow tie is big enough to be known in across the US. K Trap was the one who surprised me. I'm like, of course I haven't heard of K Trap. Like, why? But slow tie, I thought was just I took it as a like people should know about slow tie type thing.
Yeah. But I thought that was just like a weird moment for me to be like, oh, like whoever wrote this is clearly like rooting for Slow Tie in K Trap. But yeah, what an episode, really. This kind of pseudo what is this film called with Lakeith Stanfield in it? Um Say again?
Knives Out.
No.
Sorry.
Sorry to Bother You. That kind of like workhouse-esque, like they wanted to make it into like an artist workhouse with some very strange, very strange. Interesting episode. I don't really know what to make of it, to be fair.
Yeah, I
Just
liked it.
roller skates.
I liked it. I thought yeah, interesting. I think I always had this issue with episodes or movies that are set in one location and just one location for the majority of it. It
Right,
feels a bit, I say boring to me, but it gets a bit stale. Um,
right.
but they had so many scenes in here jumping about and situations changing that kind of kept it a bit dynamic.
Yeah.
I want to talk about. I mean, I think the standout for me in this episode, ironically considering the person I'm just slating, was Darius' scene.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that was just so ridiculous in a way where I was like, it just it really took me by surprise how much I enjoyed that. But it was frustrating because like seeing I'm like, Darius, say something. Like say something for MK. Because it's again themes
Yeah.
of theme like white guilt and um like white saviorism and things kind of factor into this of where somebody Darius met jumps in like, mate, I can't believe it fucking happened to you. No way. And Darius is like, I'm good. He's like, no, like that's bang out of order.
You know what I mean?
See, Darius
And
as a
then goes on
person
to tell Darius' story, like, and lie
and lies, just
about
just
what.
inflates things. And Darius is a person who's you can see in terms of navigating social situations with people he's not familiar with, of kind of not really knowing how to stem the stem the tide. It almost would be like, hey, that's not what
Yeah.
happened. This is what happened. And he tries actually, to be fair, but he's just not used to. It's like just watching a snowball tumble downhill whilst you're chasing after it, and he's like, I don't know how to stop this snowball, and it's just picking up more and more steam. I.e., people who are gunning for MK. So when when you finally see MK in the kitchen, which, to be fair, the interaction was awkward, but you see, Darius wasn't affected by it. Darius was like, it's his light. So when you see MK in the kitchen wave at Darius and Darius's face, like, mm-mm, mm-mm. And then everyone changes, sees her, and you don't see what happens in terms of her interactions with them, but you hear what happens. And Darius comes down and sees Ern a bit later on. It's getting very intense. We should leave, and they do. But it was just so funny to me. I like situations that take on a life of their own. In that, and that was it was hilarious.
I found that whole thing like so crazy. Like, to me, it started off crazy. The girl was brazy. Like, essentially Darius had gone up to her and she was like, I'm engaged. Literally came over for the gym, babe. I literally came over for the gym. I wasn't here to chirps you.
Mhm.
Crazy from the get-go. The guy had a receding hairline. There was a lot going on. There was a lot going on. I'm trying to think what else happens. Oh, Paperboy ends up playing poker.
Poker with one of the billionaires. I guess a billionaire who lives there as well. I wasn't really sure. It's like, is it two
So
two
I think
houses?
it was his house.
Oh,
Nando's in it.
yeah, but okay, his house. But the guy that the original lot met was like hosting a party there, or like he was there at the party type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he basically pays the billionaire rent to like have
Cool.
people there.
I guess. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, Paperboy gambling situation with the owner of the place who doesn't want to pay up. Paperboy flies off the handle, like severely. Um, Not happy having been just cheated out of 20K. And begins to let that frustration be known by taking a chainsaw to the tree, by stealing people's Nando's and chicken, just yelling and just causing a ruckus. And, and
But also, I guess the question is like, why didn't the billionaire just pay? Like, was it a price? Like, was it the fact that he lost, or like, that was so strange to me.
it could be multiple reasons. It could be, yeah, it could be pride. It could be a race thing. It could be maybe he doesn't actually have that money. It could be like there's so many. They don't go into why he didn't pay him, and he doesn't
Yeah,
leave the room. He sees the tree which he loves being cut down, but he doesn't leave the room.
yeah.
Um, the point is
This is a tree.
he didn't pay up. Mhm.
I was just gonna say, this is the tree that he literally built a house around, by the way, because it's meant to be the oldest tree in London. So he built a house around this tree. Paperboy is literally taking a chainsaw to the tree, and he's just in his room, like weird.
Yeah, it's that whole thing was fun, was wild. And they run, they escape, they get to the car and start laughing about it, which I liked. It just shows like there's a sense of levity to everything that they're doing, even though
Yeah,
Paperboy is obviously of this status and everything else. That they're still just jokes, like fun. They're still having a great time, still having a laugh, which was nice. A nice note to end on. Um,
and then Van.
Van and Ern, because they both Ern also has his own storyline going on here, but Van seems to be not in a good place or one of the best places how they've framed it. And even though she's like, oh, I'm great, I'm fine, I'm just doing me. She's behaving in a way which has been uncharacteristic for her from the previous seasons, and as somebody
Yeah,
who's particularly like level-headed and you know calm is now being almost quite erratic at times and like just doing things as they come like pop. It's almost like she's listening to like what's that voice called? The imp, that voice in your head. I can't remember what it's called. It's like that voice in your head that just like that everyone has. It just tells you to do wild stuff. You don't really listen to it, but it just pops into your head. It's like I don't know, you're holding a can of gasoline and voice to drink it. That voice called the imp or perverse or something like that.
okay. But like
But
she like put someone in the water, like in a swimming pool,
stuff,
no reason.
like the most things, like those thoughts will pop into anybody's head, but you don't act on it. You just kind of, and she just doing her thing. So yeah, are you worried about
Like
Van?
I'm not worried about Van. No, I'm actually excited to see this side to her. I think it's great for her. Well, I think it's great for Zazie Beetz to explore another side of Van. So I'm very excited to see it happen. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that we're seeing a bit more turmoil.
Do you think that?
Mentally.
Do you think Van and Ern are going to get back together by the end of the show?
Like by the end of season 3 or 4.
Season 3 is the last season, no?
There's one more.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought this was the final season.
No, they approved 3 and 4.
Oh, okay. So do you think they're going to get back together by the end of season 3?
Um, I'm still gonna need for Ern to step up in ways I don't think he has yet.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think they'll be great co-parents.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're both if they're that compatible to be in a relationship just yet. Or at least by the end of the season, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I would love to see them both be taking care of their kid and both being there for their kid, um, and being nice to each other. I think I would rather see that personally than them back together.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the co-parent angle. I think maybe I'm still hung up and insecure, but as much as I was rooting for Lawrence and Edith to get back together, I don't want to keep seeing like exes get back together to finish exes get back together. But anyway, Earn.
Also,
Yeah.
I feel like so I was just gonna say I think with Van as well, like the fact that she is abroad, it's probably like one of the well, to be fair, she used to travel a lot when she was a kid. Um,
Mhm.
but she said in episode 2 that she sees that she's experiencing it differently now. Like she's experiencing traveling as an adult differently. And it's probably the first time in a very long time, especially since having a kid, that she's like left the country and all of this. So I think it would be nice for her to experience a new type of love
Mm.
from someone else. You know what I mean? Like, even if she had like a little love in London and then like she's like, oh shit, like I actually love this guy, but like gotta go back to my kid. Like I would rather something like that.
Interesting. Yeah. I think that would obviously have to that would be interesting from even from Ern's perspective, not to like being sent at him and her story, but the idea of now seeing a person who you've had very complicated feelings for and you haven't treated the best, now they're happy and moving on, and how that can for Ern's own development as a character, like I said, about taking the steps he might need to take in terms of growing, which I think I'm still, I don't know, like I don't know what tension or problems he's now dealing with because now he's clearly a good manager. Now he's clearly like got money. He hasn't got financial issues in the same ways. There's a sense of confidence towards him. So I don't really know in terms of what his character flaw is at the moment. So I want to see how that kind of pans out. I don't know what he needs to work on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you want to talk about Ern?
Let's talk about Anne. What happens with Anne?
He he is chatting to this his friend, the billionaire guy, about like just working together in the future and everything else. And the billionaire guy basically comes to him and is like, hey, this up and coming artist from Tooting is
Woo!
is a
Woo!
wants to turn my place into like an artist pad, like completely financed from the wazoo. And he's like he is like my wife usually is my voice of reason, but she's no longer here. Is this a good idea? and, then, and then Ern, who's obviously like, nah, bro, like the artist isn't that good, and it's a terrible idea. You see the conflict of being again in proximity to whiteness, of suddenly I want to jump to the end, but Ern takes a look at this photo of the first bank loan being presented to I think it's the Bank of Cape Town. Cause I was trying to do some like googling on this. The Bank of Cape Town, like all these white people and everything else, even like South Africa, Cape Town apartheid, obviously connotations there. And in the background, you see what appears to be like a black slave, like way in the background. Yeah. So I think, and even that, like the proximity to money, whilst not having money, has always been a thing. So in that moment, Ern kind of makes a decision of no, you know what, like this is for us. This is fine. And this is okay. Like yeah. And I'm also going to eat off this too.
Yeah, bro. Like, oh, you're spending 500K to allow artists to be artists? Okay, and I'm gonna take 30%. Thank you.
Kind of interesting because it makes me think of the cyclical nature of when we say like reparations of how I'll say our people because I think the term like our people is a broad term, but our people in terms of skin folk who have been through slavery, who've been through these like who've done the work to build up the modern day civilizations we have now, which Black people still like on the whole don't eat off in the same way. That it's kind of like in Ern's mind, it seemed like the clocks were ticking where he's like, no, you know what? This is for us. Like that person in the photo in the background worked. And like so I can be here in this position and benefit. And whether you believe that or not, it's like kind of neither here nor there. But I see the dilemma in terms of Earn, like kind of thinking, justifying it to himself that this is fine, this is okay. So
it does seem like a bit like a. It's a bit weird. It does seem a bit weird though, because he's just basically just like, like, this space is for you, which is why I mentioned sorry to bother you earlier, because it's kind of like, why would you put me up with somewhere to work? Sorry, why would you put me up with somewhere to live? Why would you feed me? Why would you do all of these things if you didn't want something else from it? And obviously in Sorry to Bother You, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, they
say that. I'm gonna have to bleep that out. You can't say that's a wild spoiler.
Okay, fine, you can bleep it out. For comedic effect. But yeah, so at first, like, yes, I understand like the dilemma, like you say, like, should he take the money? Shouldn't he take the money? Blah blah blah. But yeah, I think he just came to the conclusion that it was best to just take the money, especially because like the work, well, to earn anyway, the work that the guy TJ was making was terrible. But if he's getting paid, damn, let me eat.
Yeah, because the dilemma is not even initially like, should Earn take the money or not? Because Earn's not even involved in the decision. Earn's just kind of co-signing somebody else eating of it too. But then Earn realizes, no, you know what, like, community, Anyway, that was that dilemma. I find it funny the way British characters in American TV shows up the British accent. Like it's real. It's just extra. It's so extra. I'm like, I know we don't sound like that on a regular basis, but it's always like the most British version of us. Which makes me chuckle for American audiences. So yeah,
I'm excited them interact with people who aren't billionaires in London. Like if we can get an episode where they're in London and they're just dealing with Tom and Nancy, that would be amazing. We
did get Van in the chicken and chip shop. I did see it like kind of mid credits ish. Because I was like, is this a production gaff? Did they forget about Van? Did they forget Van has a story? But then you see where she ends up, and then she sees Ernest beforehand, and then she like obviously like busies it, whatever, doesn't answer the phone, and she's chilling in the chicken and chip shop. So
with the little monument that she stole from the billionaire's house.
I didn't even realize. Fair. All right, but yeah, that's episode 1, 2, 3 of Atlanta.
Wow. Yeah,
that's it.
It's always hard to predict what's going to come up next in Atlanta because of the fact that it's like this Afro-surrealistic.
Yeah.
Is that how? Why am I always struggling with words? Anyway, but yeah, because of the nature of the show, it's very hard to predict what we're going to see next, and stuff, which is part of the fun. Strong start for me from season 3, I think. They just keep doing it, don't they? Bloody hell.
Yeah, it's a good start. I'm excited to see where it goes, and having just learned that they are doing a season 4, because I thought this was the final season. I can see this being the peak, and maybe season 4 being not the fall off. I don't keep jumping back to the fall off, but do you know what I mean? Like
the level out.
Yeah, in some ways. Okay, but yeah, Queenie, as always, lovely to talk to you about Atlanta. Excited to, as the show goes on, to unpack it further and see how these themes, particularly in episode 1, might factor into later episodes. But until then, we'll speak soon.
Yeah. Speak soon. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
Bye.